Veteran, called a nuisance, ejected, no one realized. His silent presence carried one of the most heartbreaking veteran stories you've ever heard. They pushed him away, like he was excess, until a general walked in and froze, because the man they had just thrown out was the reason his father was still alive, and the reason he himself had grown up to become a general. This is a story from Justice for Veterans, because justice should never arrive after the funeral. Yacht's voice over his name is Walter Harris, 76 years old, a former paratrooper of the 101st Airborne Division where footsteps often never returned. Now he lives, without a home, without family, no one waiting, just an old coat and a worn wooden cane. Every year, during Veterans Week, he walks more than 3 miles to the military museum, not to be honored, but to sit quietly in front of a wall etched with the names of those he once called brothers. He doesn't carry a phone, no invitation, only an old patch sewn onto his sleeve faded with time, but never removed, not even for a day. Yea, voice over. People pass him, like passing an empty chair. No one asks, no one looks. A mother pulls her child past the lobby. Don't stare, honey. He's probably just homeless. A young couple walks by whispering, why doesn't the museum screen better? Walter still sits, hand resting on his cane, eyes gazing past the glass. The crowd buzzes around him, but he seems outside that world. Among the dozens of honor plaques in the museum, his name isn't there. But he doesn't blame them. He's used to being forgotten, and he knows war doesn't choose who gets remembered. It only leaves behind those who survived. Jai voiceover. The receptionist eyes him, uneasy. Sir, do you have a reservation? Walter shakes his head slowly. I just wanted to sit here, like every year. She whispers into a phone. Another staff member arrives faster, colder. Sorry, this area is reserved. Please step outside. Walter rises, slowly, without protest. But it doesn't end there. A young man in a security uniform approaches quickly, no sympathy in his eyes. You're making other guests uncomfortable. Leave. Now. Then, he puts a hand on Walter's shoulder. A small act, but it's about to unlock a door to history no one expected. Voice over Kylth. New security guard grabs the old man's arm through the worn coat. I'm asking you to leave. This isn't a place to beg for sympathy. Walter freezes, not out of fear, but pain. Not physical, but the kind that never healed. He looks into the young man's eyes, silent, not a single word. Then slowly, he lifts his left hand, pulls up his sleeve. A frayed patchen eagle with wings spread between 2 crossed swords. The insignia of the 101st Airborne. Kyle squints at it. What is that? But right then, footsteps echo behind them. Slow, sharp. Someone has just walked in, and what happens next will change everything. Voiceover. The man who just entered wears full military dress. A silver star gleams on his chest. 2 general stars shine under the lobby lights. He stops, stares at the patch on Walter's sleeve. Unblinking, silent. The room goes still, like someone just drained the sound from the air. Kyle still grips Walter's arm, unaware of the shift, but the general has frozen in place. His voice drops low, almost to himself. That patch is real. Then he lifts his gaze, eyes locked on Walter. What's your name? Walter answers quietly. Walter Harris. And in that moment, history just opened its eyes. Weiss over. The general steps forward. Kyle backs off, recognizing the rank but not yet the moment. The general doesn't look at anyone else, only Walter, as if they were the only 2 in the room. Then he speaks. My name is Thomas Rains. My father served in Ishao Valley in 1968. Walter tilts his head, says nothing. Rains takes a deep breath. All my life, he told one story about a mechanic who carried him half a mile under fire through the night. saving the entire unit. He points to the patch. That man wore this. And if I'm not mistaken, that man is you. The room goes still. No one moves. No one speaks. Rain steps forward, stands before Walter. Then before all, he lifts his hand and salutes. Firm, respectful, not as a general, but as a son honoring the man who saved his father. Kyle stands frozen, pale. The receptionist swallows hard. Rains lowers his hand and turns to Kyle, his voice, not angry, but sharp as steel. You put hands on a man wearing a patch. Older. Voice over. 1 week later, Walter received a letter from the museum director. It read, "We apologize for forgetting, but now we will remember." Walter didn't read the letter out loud. He folded it gently and slipped it into his chest pocket right above his heart. The museum held a small ceremony. No microphones, no media. Only those who needed to be there, and a single empty chair in the front row, reserved for Walter. When he walked in, people stood. No one gave an order. They simply rose as if to say, "Thank you." Walter sat down. He said nothing, but for the first time in years, he was no longer sitting alone. Voiceover. The bench where Walter used to sit, that old wooden bench with fading paint tucked in the museum corner, is no longer the same. A small bronze plaque has been added. Walter Harris, 101st Airborne Division, still standing. No grand display, no glitter, just a few words that carry a lifetime. Since that day, every Veterans Week, silver-haired veterans come by. They don't speak, they just stop and salute the bench. A bench that was once a place of rejection, now a place of reverence. Walter still sits there when he can. But this time, people know who he is, and more importantly, they know why he deserves that seat. Voice over. One late afternoon, golden light spilling over the marble floor, Walter was sitting on his bench. Footsteps approached, familiar, but hesitant. It was Kyle. No longer in uniform. He dressed simply, hat in hand, eyes down. He walked slowly, stopping in front of Walter. I want to apologize, sir." Walter looked at him for a long moment, then gave a slight nod. "You've already done the hardest thing. Now do the next." Kyle looked up, quietly asked, "What is it, sir?" Walter answered, voice low like wind brushing over time. "Next time, try to see the person standing before you. Your voice over." Since that day, young people began stopping at the bench, not out of curiosity, but to understand. A student came with a sketchbook, drawing the 101st Airborne insignia. A young couple brought their child, pointing to the plaque. This man carried his whole unit out of battle. Walter Harris's story spread not through social media, but through glances, through the way people treated each other afterward. General Rains once said, "Not everyone gets the chance to save a life, but everyone has the chance to see the life in someone." And perhaps what America needs to remember doesn't live in victory, but in how we remember those who sacrificed in silence. 5. Voice over. Walter Harris never needed a speech. He didn't reclaim his honor. He simply sat down and let the truth stand up. But this story isn't just about Walter. It's about us, those who walk past living history and turn around too late. How many veterans have been forgotten after their service? How many silences have become accomplices to injustice? At Justice for Veterans, we believe no one who ever sacrificed for their country should have to fight again just to be respected. If you ever see someone mistreated because of how they look, remember Walter. And next time, instead of walking past, stop, because you might be the only one left to do what's right.